Thank you. I'm Mr. Lehner, and welcome back to Mr. Lehner's Math Extravaganza. In today's webisode, we're going to take a look at sharing 100 things. Basically, we're going to be taking a look at fractions and decimals and how we can use those to spread out some of our different numbers. Let's take a look at a strategy or a tool that can help you when turning your fractions into decimals. This tool is what we like to call our place value chart. When looking at our place value chart, it'll be very easy to take any fraction that you have and turn it into a decimal. If I were to start off and just write out 0.5, the way I would say this decimal is whatever the last digit ends in is how I would say it. So if it's 0.5, this would just be 5/10. If I were to write out 5/10 as a fraction, it would just be 5/10. What if I were to add a 0 into this part right here of my bar? 0.50. I would say it 0.50 hundredths. So I'd write it as 50/100. 0.5 and 0.50 actually name the same exact number. If you notice, 5/10 and 50 hundredths are both equal to, they're both equal to a half. Okay? Let me change it here. What if I put a 2 in the ones column? Anytime I'm reading this and you see a decimal point, that stands for the word and. You always say and. So if I were going to read this, I would say 2 and 50 hundredths. The 2 is a whole number. So here comes our mixed number. 2 and 50 hundredths, and we said that that was 50/100. This might look familiar to you. Think of like money. When you see money, this would be $2.50. Think of like gas stations. If you're driving in the car with your parents and you see the gas station sign, I wish gas was this cheap, but you might see like 2.50 price per gallon. You might say like $2.50 per gallon. So you see decimals all the time, whether we realize it or not. Okay, let's try a different one here. What if I were to write 3.125? How would I write that one out? Okay, so we'd say 3 and 125 thousandths. So again, 3 is our whole number, and we say 125 thousandths, working with our fraction here. Let's try one more. If I were to write, let's say, 45.11. If I write 45.11, how could I write this one? I would say 45 and 11 hundredths. So I'd write 45 as my whole number, and this is 11 out of 100. So again, using this tool can help me take any fraction that I have and turn it into a decimal, or look at a decimal and then turn it into a fraction. And again, these name the same numbers here when working with decimals and fractions. Let's take that tool now and apply it to an actual problem. And again, you know, it's going to be my favorite part. This is going to be your challenge at home. So take out that pencil, grab that paper, and let's take a look at what your problem has in store for you. It says, Mr. Lehner cuts a cake into 100 servings to share with his 6th grade class. Sounds really nice, right? Chocolate cake might make you a little hungry again. The pan is our gargantuan 20-inch by 20-inch square pan. If Mr. Lehner shares the cake for 20 students equally, how much will each student get? Write each person's share as a fraction and as a decimal. Okay, go ahead and pause that video. I might use my hundreds chart or my place value chart to help me in this problem as well, and then we'll see what you come up with. Okay, when working with this problem, there's two things that I would do. I'd look and I know that there's 100 servings to share with the 6th grade class. I know that the pan is 20-inch by 20-inch. I know that I need to share the cake for 20 students equally, and I need to know how much each person will get as a fraction and a decimal. There's a lot in there. So the first thing I would know that there's 400 total pieces of cake, because if it's a 20-inch by 20-inch pan, 20 times 20 would be 400. I know that if I took the 400 and divided it by 20 students, that would equal 20 pieces of cake. So that each person would get 5/100ths, or 0.05. Now, when finding this, I would look at like the hundredths grid here. If I had 20 students that needed to share this hundredths grid here, each student would get 5 out of the 100. So that's where I got my 5 hundredths. I also know that 5 hundredths as a decimal is 0.05. Again, thinking about that place value chart may be helpful. When working with word problems like this, remember to break it down step by step. What do I know in the word problem? What am I trying to figure out? What could be a strategy to help me solve this problem? And does my answer make sense? Does it make sense to say each person gets 5 out of the 100? Well, yeah, because there's 20 people sharing it. But if I said that each person was getting 50 slices of the 100, well, that wouldn't make sense, or 500 wouldn't make sense. So make sure your answer is reasonable as you check it. Thank you for tuning in to Miss Elaine's Math Extravaganza. As always, we'll see you next time.